these women in Kentucky now, they're setting up, this isn't the only thing, they're pledging allegiance, but this is the sexualization of children. And we've talked about this. We've gotten on trouble on YouTube for talking about this because they say if you question the sexualization of children, oh, you're making fun of someone's immutable characteristics. This has nothing to do with the children, okay? Nope. It has to do with the predators, and I don't necessarily mean just sexual predators. I mean ideological predators who are trying to get their claws into your kids very young. So this is Sexy Summer Camp in Kentucky for kids. The lessons include things like sex liberation, gender exploration, BDSM, being a sex worker, self-managed abortions, sex on licit and illicit drugs. Now, hold on a second. Look. If you want to say, first off, if you wanted to say this is an LGBT-friendly camp where we make sure that no one gets bullied, you know, and I don't know, we teach knitting classes, whatever the hell it is. Fine. So in here, if you just want, let's say it was just gender exploration. I disagree with it, but you would say that we are either straw manning or employing an intellectual fallacy if we go, well, hold on, that's a slippery slope to discuss gender and sexual orientation with kids because then this devolves into a hypersexual conversation. No, what do you think? We're all perverts? But then when they have the ability to, they're teaching BDSM, being a sex worker. Why do kids need to know that? And what do you do at Take Your Mom to Work Day?
Ugh.
Take Your Moms to Work Day.
Well,
are they both sex workers? Self-managed abortions? I don't even do my own taxes.
Begin with this.
Sex on licit and illicit drugs. Illicit means illegal in this context.
Right.
So, okay, not only are you teaching them how to be gross, but how to break the law. So the camp's founder of Sexy, I want to make sure I get this name right, Sexy Summer Camp. I keep saying Sexy Day Camp, but it's summer camp. It's more than a day.
More than a day.
Good. It's a sleepover camp, which makes me feel far more at ease with the general concept. So the camp's founder, Tanya Turner, all references available at loudwithcarter.com, even talked about how important masturbating is for children.
Get down with yourself, explore your own body. Masturbation is really healthy, and I recommend it to people of all ages.
Wrong.
All ages. As soon as my nephews could talk, they were doing that. That's what they were doing. Kids touch themselves. Kids start to ask questions, and we teach them the language for their bodies, right? That's your nose, touch your nose, show Aunt T, you can touch your nose. But my sister's not saying that when they're tugging at their penis, right? But
Wrong.
It feels good, right? We have to learn ways to talk to young people about this so that they know how to explore their body consensually so that it's not in public, right?
Well, if you were to explore your body, you'd need globes and maps. This, of all ages, now I get it, boys touch themselves, sure, but that's not masturbating. That's not the same thing as a boy touching himself. Or, you know, guys often when they're sitting watching television, right, you just put your hand down your pants. For some reason, I don't know why, and I'm like, I didn't even realize I was doing that.
Never done
it's
it.
warm.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean,
it's a temperate climate. That's what it is. But teaching,
it's balmy.
Teaching kids of all ages to masturbate. In other words, you know what's going to be going on at the camp. It's like, well, why do you imply that there's anything inappropriate? Because she's going to teach 5-year-olds to masturbate.
Even before that, I have a son right now who's starting to talk, and she's saying my son should be schooled in the arts of self-pleasure. And just to make sure that we understood her correctly, she said all ages, and had it in bold on the screen there.
We don't need to wait until a child is sexually accosted to say, you know what? We're not comfortable with you targeting our children. No, this is enough. It doesn't need to be child rape. And you guys can let me know if you think that I'm being too extreme here. This should be shut down. I'm relatively libertarian, relatively, I mean, I was a libertarian until I kind of grew up. Like, there is a fundamental role of government. However, public safety definitely falls under the role of government. Not what you put in your own body if you're not harming anybody else. Not what you choose to do on your own property if you're not harming anybody else. But this is definitely a violation of public safety when you are going after children and teaching them at a summer camp to masturbate and about BDSM. For crying out loud, when do we say that, you know what, a society with some semblance of decency would be nice? Libertarians, can you agree on that? It's like, if they want to do it, that's fine. Well, first off, right now, this is just a camp. Okay, we understand that this lady is putting it on because, she probably needs some reason to roll out of bed in the morning. And so this was her reason at that point. But you don't think that this is going to go down the road of eventually getting a government grant, government funding? Of course, then it becomes taxpayer-funded teaching children to masturbate. That's why they had that bill in Florida, and people said, it's a don't say gay bill. No, it was you can't teach kids what will eventually include, as you're seeing in this camp, masturbating. We used to say sex ed was a debate.
Yeah.
Where some people were saying, you know what, I think that I should be able to teach my children. And some parents dropped the ball and didn't teach their kids, and they got old. You had like a Loretta Lynn situation where she had babies, she didn't even know where they came from. She's like, I just thought that was something you did for fun. That's a problem. About where is there this level of propriety for a parent to, what rights do parents maintain in teaching these things to their children? They would say, well, you just want to teach abstinence-only education, and it doesn't work. By the way, abstinence-only education means that abstinence is the only thing that actually works 100% of the time. That's a scientific fact. Doesn't mean that you teach it's the only way to mitigate pregnancy, that it's the only way to mitigate STDs, but it is the only way that is foolproof, period. There can be no debate about that scientifically. That being said, the people who thought that it was their job to teach sex education to kids were excoriated. They were all made to look like Carrie's mom with the kitchen silverware in her torso in that final scene. And the fact is, those same parents were saying, well, where does it end? Where does it end? What rights do we give up and teach it? Well, now they believe that they should have the right to teach your kids about BDSM and masturbating, all ages. And they reiterate, all ages.
And being a sex worker, don't forget. We got to make the
sex
economy
worker.
go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because we don't want to objectify women. Hey, just so you know, I don't know if you're aware of this, because this is something that I've never really understood when the left says, you shouldn't objectify women. And by that, they mean objectify women by actually acknowledging and appreciating the beauty of women. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you know this, but I've been known to do that, right? To appreciate that women can be beautiful. I know. I know. Shame. You can shame me. You can admonish me. But they think that that is wrong. Okay. And by they, I mean the left. I mean the people at these camps. I mean the people who run the media and run all of Hollywood. They right now in these magazines, they say it's fat pride. It's wrong to objectify. It's wrong to appreciate the beauty that is a woman. But they support sex work, and sex work is real work. Hey, let me ask you this. When a guy pulls up to a sex worker, what do you think he's doing? That woman only makes money if she's objectified. Don't objectify women. By the way, sex work is real work. What do you teach them? You teaching them about a 401k? Or are you teaching them how to be a more effective sex worker? Hey, I'll give you a hint. To be the most effective sex worker you want to be the most attractive you can be to members of the opposite sex. It's almost like that's the only thing they care about. Don't objectify women. Sex work is real work. Oh, all right. Okay. There was also supposed to be a sexy summer camp in Texas, but it was postponed. Teens there were going to be paid $100 to go learn, quote, an evidence-based and LGBTQIA plus friendly curriculum. Well, which is it? Which one is it? Is it evidence-based or is it LGBTQIA plus friendly?
Those can't be in the same sentence.
Which one is it? Let's just go through that really quickly. Let me read this, okay, so that you guys can actually see how absurd this is. And these are the people who say, trust the science.
Yeah.
Trust the science. Okay. An evidence-based, and instead of the acronym, I'll read what it is. An evidence-based and lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, and is the A allies? Plus.
Asexual, maybe? I don't know.
Asexual plus. Evidence-based, and then just an insertion of a bunch of made-up shit.
Well, and the plus is like, if we forgot to make anything up.
Anything else we want to
feel
throw
free.
in there.
I don't know. What, hey, and then someone goes like, hey, I don't know. I'm at this camp, and since you guys seem to be so very meticulous about being evidence-based, can I be two-spirited? Hell yeah, you can be two-spirited. We'll just add that to the list.
What does that mean? I don't know. Add it.
Hey, can I be pansexual? Yeah. I just want to make sure with your whole evidence-based curriculum. We'll just,
I like all the tents in the camp.
Yeah. This is what they do, right? This is how they justify it with your children. This is how they justify all of it. This is why science, the scientific process, is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing because it involves testing something. You have a hypothesis, you test it. And it's not based on consensus science. It's not determined by consensus, I should say. It's determined by truth. It doesn't matter what the consensus is if the truth is revealed and it happens to go against the consensus. So what they try and do is bastardize that and say, actually, 97% of scientists agree on climate change. Yeah. Well, actually, look, most of these doctors now are willing to perform sex reassignment surgery. Well, actually, if you look at the DSM-5, they changed gender dysphoria, so they changed it so it's no longer an actual disorder. It's the symptoms are, in fact, these are, I don't know if you know this. Do you know what the DSM-5 changed? DSM-4, DSM-5. Used to be gender dysphoria was a disorder, just like body dysmorphia. Okay, just like anorexia, just like bodybuilders, gender dysphoria was seen as the disorder. As a way, because of political pressure, as a way to kowtow to them, they changed it where gender dysphoria is a means to describe the symptoms of the discomfort from being born with the wrong gender identity. Yeah, we're the studies. So you want to say, okay, we change this to DSM-5 because that assumes that someone can be born in the wrong body. Okay, again, let's do this. Let's just go through the scientific process and let's sort of combine it a little bit with the Socratic method. Oh, so someone believes they're born in the wrong body. Why? Right there, it's either they were born in the wrong body, you have to answer, or well, they have a disorder that tells them that they were born in the wrong body. Okay, so let's say you go with that door number 1. They were born in the wrong body. How do you know that? You don't get much further than that. Now, some people might say, well, it's because their brain is in the wrong body. Oh, so what you mean to say is there's a male brain and a female brain, which would, again, bring us back to this oppressive idea of a binary. How can you have a male brain and a female brain if you don't have biological sex? But even then, are there studies that show the brain of trans people are different before cross-sex hormone replacement therapy? It doesn't exist. It's not a thing. But we changed the disorder to mean the symptoms of a disorder without actually identifying how somebody can be born into the wrong body. They can't answer the simple follow-up question of, well, what do you mean someone's born in the wrong body? Well, it's because they're born into the brain is born in the wrong body. How do you know that? There isn't an answer for any of that.
Yeah.
But they want to teach your children an evidence-based curriculum. Just don't be led by the nose. Okay, don't be led by the nose on this because you need to understand the severity of this is not one of those things where people say, okay, you have an opinion and we have an opinion. This is uncharted territory. This is a massive social experiment and the subjects are now your children. This has never happened. In the history of the modern world, it's never happened. You don't know how this ends. We do know that there's a 41 to 42% attempted suicide rate for transgender youth, and we do know that after surgery, it doesn't get any better. After sex hormone replacement surgery or after gender reassignment surgery, it's still about 42%. So it's not scientifically viable to say that these people find themselves in an unnaturally high suicide rate, higher than American slaves, because they can't take a dump at a Target